My name is Michael Race, and I'm a technology recruiter. Been hiring for software teams probably over the last decade by now. Startups, in-house, enterprise companies, you name it. But I'm going to be the MC. I've got a few questions for these guys over here, and they'll do some quick intros now as well. But pretty much the idea of today's talk and discussion, it's going to be more along the lines of life after your technology degrees. Early careers, mid-careers, things like that. So just how you'll see your careers developing and what things you could do now that could help that. So I guess just as a quick intro, I'll come back to you if you're ready.
Hello, my name is Jack Lobianco. I have 20 years experience, over 20 years experience in IT. That ranges from working as a lowly bench technician, presently working as a software developer manager for in fintech, and managing a team of developers globally. And I'm here to offer my career, my personal career experience across that time span. And I don't have a computer science degree.
Hi everyone, my name is Heman Kolla, and I'm a current RPI student in the ITWS program piloting a quantum computing track in finance. So most of my experience lies in quantum machine learning and quantum optimization research. So I'm highly specialized in the academic area, but I'm also very engaged in the entrepreneurship and innovation in the region, primarily GDG, as well as a couple other organizations, 1 Million Cups, Flying Pigs, etc.
Hi everyone, I'm Levitt. I'm a CS ITWS dual senior right now at RPI. I'm a little bit more product focused. I'm very kind of in the startup world, very much focused on building, just student software is really my focus right now. Working on a platform called Meridian, which we're kind of working with the school to develop and build out. I've done kind of a lot of stuff in software. I've been programming since like 4th grade, I think, but my focus is really on full stack development and mobile applications development.
Hi, my name is William Chen. I am a senior pursuing a dual major in computer science and information technology and web sciences at RPI. My experience is that I also had like a year of experience out in the real world. I was there as an intern and then slowly transitioned into a product manager. So that's my little 2 cents. I want to come out in here and give you my experience, as well as, as a current RPI student, I can kind of relate to all of you guys as well. So yeah.
Awesome. I think everyone can hear me, right? Okay, cool. I'll use this and you guys can pass that. So, like I said, as far as the questions that I have today, it'll be more along the lines of, say, early careers and getting things kicked off. So, Jack, you've been in the real world, you've been on interview teams and whatnot. First things first, are there any particular skills or probably more personal attributes that you look for in budding engineers?
Budding engineers. I've definitely had my range of experience interviewing people of different backgrounds, and there are people that are university or computer science trained versus people that may have had a degree in something completely nothing to do with computers, but they've picked up or through a passion have been self-taught. I have people like that I manage today, and what I'm looking for is somebody who's motivated, somebody who is proactive and resourceful. I'm not looking for a genius that knows it all and their mind is somewhere else because they think they know it all and they don't think there's anything else to learn. I'd rather have somebody that knows 50% of what's needed and 100% more passion to try to get the job done.
Yeah, I've certainly found that too in the hiring space also, whether it be managers who I speak with, and I'll ask them what really made the difference between, say, this handful of junior candidates. And typically it's not someone who knows every single skill or every single new hot thing out there. It does tend to be the ones who probably don't have the hugest of egos, the ones that still are very open to learning, but also working at the same time. So it definitely is a mix of skills, but also the tenacity part as well really has a lot to do with it too. I guess for you three then, I mean, obviously being earlier in careers, but still definitely doing more of the hustle as well. I mean, each of you are currently studying and also doing side projects, what have you, founding new technologies, things like that. What I'd be really interested in would be, since you're early in careers, but you're also doing work on the side, is there anything you would recommend in terms of actually balancing that, or even going about finding those other ventures before just getting your degree and hitting the job boards? So is there anything that you guys have done in particular that you found really helpful that might be helpful to other people as well while they're getting their degrees?
Sure, I'll lead us off. I would say when it comes to starting other ventures, first of all, it's a more competitive CS market than we've probably ever seen before. You're all aware of that. If you're here, you're working towards making yourself stand out. And I think standing out is what's really important right now. And I think probably one of the best ways you can do that, outside of obviously just getting an internship, working at a company, is by your own personal projects. Because there's not really anything holding you back. You can just make whatever you want. And I think if you really engage in the work, it can be really enjoyable as well. So I think I would say the easiest way is find something that you want to do, something that you're passionate about, and just build it. Because, if you're just building some little program that you think is going to play well on a resume, there's going to be 100 other people building that for the exact same reason. But if you have a specific niche, a specific edge case of something that you want solved, and you kind of build a solution for that, you'll really stand out, because if you talk in an interview, they'll kind of understand that you really cared about this problem and you're looking to solve it.
And I think one thing I'd like to add on, right, is not all of us are problem focused. We don't all come into college or the workforce knowing what problem there is to solve. Personally, I'm not one of those. I'm someone who's very passionate about a technology and quantum computing, and I want to do something in that realm, but I don't know what industry that I want to engage in. And I think the best thing that you can do if you're not a problem type, you're more like me, is really engage with the communities. I know that Professor Turner gave us a wonderful keynote address today morning about how finding communities and exploring and making sure you make those connections will open you up to significant more connections and opportunities. And what I did as a student, the first thing I did was join 10 different clubs. I didn't stick with all 10, but I met 10 different communities of people who each have become my friends and colleagues in working to another project. So I think it's definitely important to get yourself out there to make sure you are familiar with the opportunities out there, but make sure that you are involved in the communities.
Well, for me personally, I can also build off Raven and Heman. Personally, I came into college just really shy, and I didn't really want to, I really wanted to be a CS major as well, but I put myself out there and joined a lot of different clubs. Currently, I am the former president of the Google Developer Groups on campus, and from that one experience and leading a whole club when I had no option, not option, but had no prior experience, that was life-changing. Now I got more connections to all the different technologies, and I will say a little bit about my background. I started doing web development when I was in high school, and I don't think I would have got off that course if I didn't meet the new people here or any new connections. This summer in particular, I created a new app, and I didn't really want to get into machine learning at first, but now I just experimented with OpenCV, which is an amazing resource. It's something that I now fell in love with, and now I just create new projects. And when I do talk to recruiters about that, they're like, "Oh, isn't your background, web development?" I'm like, no, but this is something I'm passionate about, and I really want to see myself go into this field later in the future.
Yeah, I know Jack wanted to add something too.
Yeah, there's just one thing I wanted to clarify. When we do come across somebody that is brilliant, amazing at what they do, the one thing I'm looking for when they're hired is if they have the mindset, and somebody has to help me with this phrase, is I'd rather you have the humbleness to say, as much as I know, I still the phrase is, the more you know, the more you realize, or as much as you know, the more you realize how much more you have to learn. I can't remember that exact phrase, or that there's like some sort of psychological phrase that comes along with that. And the thing that I say, one thing, if I could fix, I'd like to see more women involved in the field and given more of an opportunity in roles of software development.
Thanks for that, guys. I guess my experience too with, I guess first off on, I guess the earlier side as well, and then hiring more folks also. I probably would be more interested in understanding what technologies you found that you're working with now, at least again, earlier in your careers. You're in the real world to some extent, or at least to a good extent, really. Are there any particular tools and technologies that you're seeing out there already? And are there any ones that you would recommend people getting probably more familiar with now?
That's an interesting question. There's always this challenge of what are people in universities right now studying, and it's they're taught Python, Java, AI, and the surprising thing is how many technologies and platforms are still legacy, and the disciplines like the scripting language and the archaic languages that are out there that you could call or name your price if you were to master that. And I know that there's a reluctance to want to do that, but I've expressed this to some of the developers, and some of them have come back to me and said, I can name my price because nobody else remembers how to use COBOL. And that was like 20 years ago when Y2K and all that. But right now everything is Python, Java, and AI. We're trying to ensure that we're leveraging those technologies in order to retain talent as well as attract talent. But we do, in my role, it's not so much the language that you use, it's what is the best language to fit solving a particular problem.
I could touch on the languages really quickly as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Coming from industry as well, I know you mentioned Java, Python. Certainly, I'm seeing that all over the place as well, from junior devs, mid, senior, principal, what have you. Kotlin's another one out there. A lot of people call it a much cleaner, slicker Java as well, not just for mobile engineering, although I do see that a lot for mobile, but also almost in place of Java at times. So if there are any ones to brush up on, maybe other ones to even try and land an internship in, or at least a small-term contract or something, definitely get exposed to Kotlin. I would just recommend that, along with the Java and Python too. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to talk about Python because I think there's a very interesting point to be made about personally why I think Python is one of the most important languages to learn. And I think it's because we can see Python applied to a whole myriad of fields, whether it's AI or data analytics or even quantum computing. Because Python is one of the largest languages that people create frameworks and libraries on top of. And I think that having the flexibility to create libraries on top of a language is something that many frameworks do support, we don't see as prevalent with as much as Python. And personally, I'm thinking in my industry, right, quantum computing, you have Qiskit, IBM's largest language that is a library built onto Python. And with this platform, you get very high-level instructions that you can make because you have lower-level Python instructions that you build it off of. And being able to target something lower level using Python code and then create your own library off of it is something that IBM has done to create new languages. And also even recently, NVIDIA has done the same thing and used Python to create an even lower level language of another library. And I think the flexibility you have to create new libraries is something that I really appreciate Python for.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree that with a lot of what you guys are saying. I think for me, I've jumped around to a lot of languages over time, And I've really come to find that all languages are kind of a lot more similar than people give them credit for. I think the scale of the differentiation between them is a lot of just minor syntax changes and then some maybe architecture changes or compilation changes. So I really feel like just sticking to a language that feels like it suits you and whatever goal you want is your best outcome, especially, or best kind of, I guess, guiding line early on, and just get really, really good at that language. But then in terms of just tools outside of languages, if we want to talk on that, I've been pretty big on AI for a long time. I think I'm not alone in that. I was using it pretty early on with like GPT-2. I had like a research testing key, and obviously everyone's seen it now. It was impressive the moment I saw it, and I've been impressed with it for the entire time. I guess the way in which you use AI models and the way you think about how you use AI models is something that should be really core to maybe not your day-to-day, but your occasional kind of revamping of your processes as you look to expand yourself as a developer. And I think making sure that's core to your considerations is I think maybe the biggest thing you should have in mind right now, considering how rapidly everything's changing.
Yeah, I'd also like to agree as well. AI has been changing a lot of the work development process right now. Speed running, like all these processes that I've used to work on, they used to take like half a year and like a whole year due, but now they're all summed up into like 1 or 2 weeks, right? So definitely, AI is really huge right now, so definitely do use AI when working. But I do want to say that for personally, I have a story about CSS. And I told you my background of like use web development and everything. CSS has always not really has changed over the past years, and everyone's like, oh, why don't you just use a framework, right? Like it's just like all these different languages, just use a framework, right? It just makes it so much easier. I personally don't like using frameworks. I like to go full vanilla, like I like to understand every little part of it, right? And AI is great and all, but you have to understand why are you making these changes. CSS can always change just like that. I've recently talked to a senior developer working with CSS, and recently at Google I/O, they mentioned about how they changed one little thing about a carousel, right? Carousels are really easy. You just slide from left to right, and then off like one button change using JavaScript and everything. And you don't understand, but a lot of companies use this method a lot, just like to display all their information. But they made it where you can make a carousel within 2 lines in CSS now, and that has impacted so many companies, you don't understand. So what I'm trying to say is like, I want to build off the legacy point, like just like the vanilla and just like make sure like your Python is like, you can understand Python, CSS, like, your basic stuff is very, very important. Your fundamentals can impact what you need to know later. And I want to add on to the framework stuff. Like if you don't know your basics, how are you going to make a functional framework?
Yeah, to your point also about keeping things vanilla, there's another side that I'm starting to see, and even though there's the high demand for making sure that you're using the latest languages to consider producing a solution, as we move more towards automation, and it's not just AI, you're starting to see where decisions are made to say, well, instead of building and buy, doing the whole build versus buy, and then going for that vendor-based solution, and then actually moving away from coding into things that are like low-code or no-code environments where they want to leverage something like RPA to be able to produce a solution instead of relying on a team of developers to produce something that could be customized.
Thanks. Something else, go for it.
Yeah, and just to add on to that point, I think I agree in terms of frameworks being used for automation. I think the point of vanilla code is very important in the learning process because having the control by knowing what is the core, say Python or any other language for that matter, is what enables you to then create those frameworks. And those frameworks are the products or solutions that we see from big tech and other companies where we're now able to use the step forward in a field to make our next step forward as just a industry and making more developments. So I definitely agree on the importance of vanilla code, and its use in automation is how we're able to continuously innovate and develop further.
Yeah, thanks for that, because I guess this question is specifically for you as well. I know that there are many folks, they'll enter the job market with a CS degree and they'll start off as, say, a general software engineer, so front end, back end, or even full stack at the junior level. But there are so many more niche fields out there, whether it be data science, whether it be more AI, ML, whatever the case is, you being in more of a niche field. I just wonder, I guess in your particular case, any recommendations you have for folks that don't want to go down the Gen Sui route and probably do want to be more in a specific realm, so to speak, early in the career? Many people typically start as a Gen Sui, then they'll become more specialized, they'll get a feel for what they like. But starting out early, anything that you found in particular that could be helpful for folks that want to be more specialized?
Yeah, so when it comes to specialization, I know that when you go to college, right, you have your core courses, your whatever your CS core or your IT core classes that you have to take. And then you have the choice to do upper division courses where you can choose to specialize. And I think it's important to know that it's good to diversify even when you have to go to your upper division courses. For example, right, when I'm in a niche field with quantum computing, when I'm talking about a specific technology that no one knows where it's going to go yet, what I need to do is start learning not only about the technology, but about where it can be applied. So my studies have to be equally as focused in, for personally, the finance industry. What problems can I solve? And when I look at these problems, then, okay, it's close enough. When I'm looking at these problems, the idea is to make sure that you focus on equally understanding the subject field that you're getting into, because that's going to help you leverage your current degree with the tech that you're pursuing. If I go out into the world with a quantum tech focused degree, but I don't know anything about finance, I don't know anything about bio, I don't know anything about the field that I'm entering, I will have no job, quite literally, because the current jobs that in the market are so specialized that if I run out of luck, I'll be stranded. So what I need to do is make sure that I understand where the field is going, keep up to date yourself, and know where you can actually apply those skills. And doing the research and understanding that field so you can excel there is something that you can apply your Gen Sui skills to while you develop your technical expertise. So I think definitely making sure that application area is your strong suit is equally as important as developing your technical skills.
Yeah, I've got a little bit to add on to that as well, because being in industry as well, you'll see Gen Sui folks out there, or even ones that maybe are specialized in a field, and they might not even like the field they're in. Maybe they're more of an SRE by now, or in DevOps, and they don't like it that much. They want to get into maybe AI or data science or something else. When you're on the job, there will always be projects for you to work on within the company, whether it be new bleeding edge ones, or maybe it's ones that are more fulfilling to you as well. You don't have to make a total career pivot all at once and gamble on something new, but you can get yourself on different projects. And then if you are looking to make a move to a new company, you'll have that experience under your belt, and it will be real world experience as well. So that's really a help once you're actually in the field. If you're not in the field yet, kind of like I mentioned earlier, any type of side projects or contracts or internships at the very least, if you can get into those, and you can have those things on your resume, that'll help as well, because I see so many more roles, they are specialized. Or maybe a role 5 years ago that was, say, for a Gen Sui, they'll have more, maybe a little LLM thrown into the JD, or far more these days. But even earlier when CI/CD was new, that was being added as a new thing to resumes. So it keeps changing. Just definitely keep attending different talks, attending different type of, or at least listening to industry-like podcasts. You'll learn where the industry is going. You can get on those right projects on your own time, ideally on the job, whatever it is. So I would just recommend just really keep current, because it moves fast. It really does. Let's see what else we have here, guys. I guess this is for you, Jack, being in the field for a while as well by now. Are there any potential career killers out there? I know we've talked about getting things started off now, but are there any things that people do that probably aren't the best, maybe midway through their careers, or any things you would recommend maybe staying away from when it comes to tech?
That's a good question. It's also a difficult question to ask, or answer, excuse me. A career killer. So let's see. I would say getting stuck with not along with what these gentlemen were saying, not diversifying, not keeping your skill sets up to date. I can personally attest to that. Working as an integration engineer, right? And I didn't have a computer science degree. I just did and learned on the job. You get to a certain point in life where maybe you have a comfortable job, you are doing things, and things seem to be, you're happy with the way things are going, and your life is just moving along, but you get complacent, and you're not learning new things. And then all of a sudden you're a target for redundancy or elimination. And then you find yourself in a situation like, I have to retrain myself. And I did face that situation. So I had to retrain myself. And I found OpenHub. And I went through a few boot camps. And I discovered things about myself that that were dormant for the 15 years or so before I initially came into this. Is it re-sparked, like wanting to learn and just seeing how I can challenge myself. And even though learning those new skills wasn't the thing that got me back to where, got me the opportunity that I had, it was just the contacts that I had. But I used the knowledge that I got from OpenHub to say, okay, I have a wider range now of skill sets that I can leverage. I'm not a genius at these things, but I think differently with what I've learned. And even though I'm not a formally trained software developer, I know how to think like one. And it's important more to know how to think like one, so when you're managing those that know how to do it, you can better decide what is possible and what is not. And it's much more of a challenge when you get to where I am in life, is knowing more how to manage a personality versus mastering a language. And I would say that, seeing that in other people that I know and work with, I do try to push them to adopt something new, to, give them that message to say, stay relevant. You don't have to master it, but you should be in the ballpark in terms of knowing how to do something.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I've seen it. People have come to me, again, being on the recruiting side, and I've certainly seen it out there as well, whether it be tech, whether it be recruiting, whatever the industry is. If you do become complacent, you do the same skills for 5-6 years, hey, might be paying you great, that's awesome. But redundancy is definitely a reality out there. So yeah, pretty much Jack hit on the nail on the head, at least from my HR recruiting point of view, where you can be in the same thing, it can be working, at least you're paying your bills, you're living nicely, but if you're not relevant, if you aren't taking on the newer things out there, then your company eventually will, and you might not be there for the ride. So it's very, very important to stay quite relevant with the tech skills you're doing. Many performance reviews, actually, if you're in corporate and working for a company, not for yourself, but corporately, many of which do have annually or maybe twice a year. And part of those performance reviews will be, have you trained yourself up on anything new? Have you taken on a new project? So just really good to know. They are there to help you as well, but it is always going to come down to you taking that ownership of your career. If you're working at a Google, sure, it's great. You have it on your resume. You're working at a FANG company. That's great. But boy, you still need to keep yourself relevant out there. It's going to help at a Google. It's going to help at a startup. Even if you open up your own business, of course, that's going to help. So yeah, the redundancy is definitely a very, very big thing out there. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of that yet in your careers or anything to say on it, but it's a real big one.
On the redundancy or
Yeah,
on the
on the
original
redundancy if you find yourself coasting or something.
question? Oh. I feel like you've covered it. I don't know if you have any. Oh, I feel like that's been pretty covered by what you guys said. I don't have any additional notes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The only thing I want to add to that is I'm with these three young men here. I'm like, one day you are going to be in that situation where somebody 20 years younger than you is going to come along, and you've mastered your field in something. The way the company's headed, or some new technology is going to come out, and you're going to feel like you just wake up one day and you're behind when you thought you were ahead. And then this younger generation comes in, and it's second nature to them. I've seen that with the the using AI tools. Like younger, like Gen Z jumps on using things like Copilot and Visual Studio Code, where I'll see people my age look at it like, nah, I could still do it better. That's just regurgitating whatever somebody threw into it. So I'm curious to see what each of you is going to look like 20 years from now when you have to face what I did.
Well, right now they're going to do it to people your age, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, and you wonder what the next thing would be 10, 20 years as well. It gets pretty fascinating pretty quick.
Yeah, and I mean, if I had to add anything, I'd just say that when you're talking about reducing your complacency and making sure you're no longer being redundant, there's the new skills that you need to learn, but it's also making sure that you absorb the information that's being put out in industry. NVIDIA came out with this. What does that mean for us? IBM did this. What does that mean for us? And making sure that you're aware of the news in your industry is just going to keep you not only on your toes, but keep you aware of what you need to be updating yourself on. So I just want to add that as a complimentary point.
Yeah, very well said on that too. Yeah. Looks like we have a few more minutes. So pretty much a question for everybody here. I know that a lot of burning questions now. We start touching on AI and machine learning, of course, but do we see, maybe a little bit more for Jack, but do we happen to see jobs possibly going away because of AI? Do we see more jobs being built because of it?
Yeah, this is something I've thought about a lot. I'm sure a lot of you have thought about it a lot. My kind of primary thesis on this is that AI is definitely going to replace people, but it's not going to replace everyone. There's still going to we still need people operating and kind of guiding these agents. I mean, obviously, agentic work is kind of a big focus of a lot of these firms or a lot of these upcoming startups, building out agents that can, in theory, sort of replace a suite of software developers. Whether or not that pans out, we kind of have to see. But I think we're likely to see a lot of disruption. I think that's pretty obvious. But I think it's going to be a lot more, a lot less impactful than I think a lot of this fear-mongering leads us to believe. There's going to be disruption, but if you're good at what you do and you're good at applying these tools, you're going to have a spot, and maybe even a more valuable spot than you had before.
I think I'd also bounce on that point too. It's like if you're really good at what you do, and you can use AI to make your process even faster, then aren't you just going to be an even better developer at that point? Because you can fix all the hallucinations on the spot. You can write it and improve it on the spot. I view AI as a tool that's going to help me instead of replace me. So yeah, definitely we do need more people who are really, really good at their job, and yeah.
Yeah, I could say I'm seeing it happen in real time where I work, and I'm trying to keep this as vanilla as possible, but senior managers are definitely under pressure to show that they are prioritizing automation. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be AI. It's, the thing is automate, automate, automate. And they are taking a look at roles of people, consultants that do certain things. And then they're looking at other jobs, not to eliminate them, but say, how can you use AI to make what you would have done by yourself, speed it up faster so that it leaves you room to do other things. So it's really different layers in terms of how to use AI to eliminate what was it? It was simplify, eliminate, and automate. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, understood there. Anything you want to add, or pretty good on
Yeah,
that?
I think we're good.
Okay, because I see it as well. Whether it be, say, new jobs being created with my current company, prior companies as well. I think we've talked about it earlier as well, where sure, maybe AI can definitely clean up a lot of things much quicker. That's great, but we're always going to need new people to leverage it even faster on its own. So it'll get rid of some dirty work, but I have many managers tell me, because I ask them all the time, I mean, what do you think of this whole age-old question right now that people are asking? Is it eliminating jobs? Is it not? And they usually tell me it really does a lot of great work quicker, but they still want human eyes on it as well. So I wouldn't say it's fully eliminating, kind of like everyone's pretty much saying, but it's going to be used very differently, which is pretty interesting to see too. But how much time do we have left? Do we have time for? 5 minutes. Okay. Could certainly open it to Q&A if you guys are up for that. Yeah. Okay. So I guess if anybody has any quick questions, by all means, feel free to ask, and we're happy to answer. Does anybody have a question? I can pass the mic around for anybody.
I had a question on your comment.
Yeah, 1 sec, we can give you the mic.
The gentleman in the white shirt, you had mentioned that you would like to see more women in tech, which I really appreciate hearing. As being in tech for 30 years, I don't feel that it's a very universal feeling among some guys, obviously not all. But can you say more about why you feel that's important?
Oh, we just need the mic back. It might be handy. Sorry for that. Record time. Thanks.
I firmly believe that having a more diverse workforce brings, it brings more talented, you're raising the bar in terms of bringing more talent into the workforce. All right, and I've witnessed it firsthand where, I've had women colleagues and people on my team, and they have done amazing work. And if there's ever an opportunity, for an open position or an opportunity for mobility toward our team, that's one of the top things I consider. I want to make sure that we're giving everybody an opportunity for that role to see, who would be the best candidate. And it doesn't always have to be somebody, who's university trained, like I said, and I don't care about, somebody's age or gender or whatever. It's can they do the job? One interesting thing, when I was in the Marines, it's kind of related, but drill instructor somebody once asked a drill instructor, who do you think the best riflemen are? And he said, hands down, women, without a doubt. And all these guys were like, how can that be? He goes, well, every time I get you guys into boot camp, all of you guys, it's like, well, I have to do a lot of I have to undo all your bad habits and everything that I have to train you a certain way to shoot the Marine Corps way. For some reason, most women have never fired a rifle, and it's like a blank slate, and I can just train them, and they follow everything that, by the book, and they usually turn out to be the best rifleman. So I took that story to say, not so much about bad habits, but just you think, you have these preconceptions of what's going to make a good software developer based on the fact that some fields are so overrepresented that there's this untapped pool of talent, and if you got to give them a chance.
Yeah, it indeed helps open talent pools as well, clearly. Any other questions?
Questions?
Or any clarity you'd like on anything we talked about? Yeah.
Hi, my name is John. I have a question. I've been in the industry for about 10 to 15 years, but I still feel like I have this imposter syndrome where I always feel like, am I still having the ability, because there's so many things coming up and catching up. Do normally everybody have this, or is there any way that this goes away one day? I don't know, but the thing in the tech world is changing a lot. How do you keep up? And one more question is like, how do you keep up with the work and family life balance? So much of things happening to keep up. That's the thing I want to ask the gentleman in the white shirt.
Yeah, that definitely is a good one.
Yeah, the only people that don't have imposter syndromes are imposters. But there is sometimes value to the old saying, sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. You know, and I've definitely been in those situations where I didn't know what I was talking about, or in my mind, you're thrown into a situation and you don't have all the answers, or you don't know what to do. And you have to improvise, you have to overcome, you have to adapt. And the most important thing is to use that fear to transform it into courage. And I had the one thing I've found myself in is I've been able to think fast on my feet because of certain life experience where I've had stressful situations. And even if I didn't have all the answers, you have to know how to be resourceful. And don't panic in the sense that I have to figure this out all on my own. Learn how to find the people that know how to do the work. And then most importantly, give them the credit.
Yeah, it's an interesting point too. You can go on, I've got a little bit as well.
Yeah, so I just want to say that I don't think imposter syndrome is necessarily a bad thing. I think when I guess, yeah, you don't have a choice if you are feeling it or not, but I think it's not something that has to be framed in a negative light. I think when you're looking at imposter syndrome and feeling that you're out of place, where there's something more that you are doing, something that you are not as good at, I think you're also taking a moment to introspect, take a look at yourself and say, hey, what can I do better? And I think if you're able to recognize where you think you need to improve, you know the next step. You know what you need to improve, and you know what it is that you want to improve on so that you don't feel this way anymore. So I think it's an important first step for anyone when they realize where they want to improve, because yes, you're going to feel like there are things that you need to get better at. But that's the brilliance of it. You're going to get better at it. And now that you realize where you want to work on yourself, you can do so.
Yeah, because a little bit back to spreading the credit as well. Again, I just come from that hiring side of things. And as far as interviewing goes, it comes up all the time. Interviewers will definitely ask candidates, early stage, mid, doesn't matter. They'll ask them about projects that, what was the strongest project you've worked on? Or maybe there was one that you're very proud of. If you do share things how everything just went perfectly, and you don't mention how you had other people helping you, and you don't mention that you might have hit a roadblock or a stumbling point, it really just doesn't tend to sit very well, because it's not reality. So just back to the spreading the credit part, the most I can say is that when interviewing, if there are opportunities where you can say, this project didn't go perfectly, but boy, I and my team all learned together from it and ended up making for a better result in the longer term, that really helps work like a charm, because quite frankly, it's honest and accurate.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And, you know, you've heard that saying, you know, success has 1,000 fathers, but failure is an orphan.
Yeah.
I've definitely had my share of failures, and I've never been afraid to step up and say, you know, it was my fault. I did it. I'm the single, you know, stuttering and everything and saying, yep, that was me. And never had a problem when doing like a product rollout, product demo, and thanking everybody and letting hundreds of people know this person, this person, this person, and this person did the work, and they need to be acknowledged for it. A funny thing I did work-wise is I created a website it's Jack's fault. So anytime, like it's the running joke now in my company, anytime somebody screws up, I just send them the URL, it's Jack's fault. Tell them, here, you want to blame somebody, blame me, it's Jack's fault. And it basically teaches you just, laugh at yourself. Use it as armor. Don't be afraid to take the blame. If you know that, don't take it for the sake of taking it, but just say, hey, look, I'm big enough to admit when I was wrong. For some reason, that's like some people see that as a toxic thing to admit when you're wrong because it shows weakness. No, I think it shows strength to admit when you're wrong, to show people your faults, because it shows that you're human.
Yeah, and that's pretty much at any level too. I even see it at the executive level as well, hiring directors, VPs, and whatnot. It's still the same tune, where the strongest leaders happen to be the ones as well, who are very much ready to share when they're wrong or what they've learned from it. And obviously, that actually puts the team first. When they're hiding what they've done incorrectly, it's not putting the team first. It's not for the good of everybody. So that's another thing. It just comes up all the time, no matter how junior or senior. So we have time for one more. Anybody have one more lingering question? Anything you might want clarity on? Yeah? Here you go.
So with all the talk being around AI and like the latest tools and technologies, I'm curious for all 5 of you, is there any specific tool, framework, application that's like supercharging your workflow or has been a game changer for you?
Copilot.
Yeah, even me as well, Copilot.
I would say I found Cursor to be pretty good. I think
Which one? I'm sorry.
Cursor.
Okay.
It's kind of like it's similar to Copilot, but it's a little more deeply integrated in. They do a lot of code indexing that's very powerful and allows for kind of larger scale changes to be more accurate, I would say. And if that's specifically in the coding workflow, outside of the coding workflow, I find that just traditional agents are very general purpose tools.
Personally, I also use Cursor a lot when it comes to development and all of that stuff, like just like localhost and like before pre-production. Like the fact that I can just create all these new like changes right there, very, very great. But outside of like coding and IDEs and everything, I personally use the new Gemini like browser thing where it takes like context prompting now and it just kind of summarizes everything on my browser. Something like that really makes it really efficient for me to understand all the information, especially when I'm a student and just follow 400 slides from a professor, right? I need it to be like a little more concise than 1,600 pictures in one slide.
I am not very good at using AI, I'll be very honest. I think I've tried a bunch of models to see what they give me and see if I like one better or not. And quite frankly, I use different applications for different purposes. I use ChatGPT, I've tried Claude, I've tried Cursor, Copilot, Blackbox, different AI models, and I think I'm definitely in the experimenting phase where I like seeing, particularly with code and development, what part of the application process can this AI agent make better for me. So I like using it for things like data processing and things where I don't want to have to do that dirty work and making it faster. So I've seen results on all of these, but I can't say that I have a favorite, just whatever has credits at that time available, really.
Got it. Good point there. I believe we're at time at the moment. So obviously, thanks everybody for coming out and wrapping this one up with us. Thanks so much.